Good morning and welcome to the video for Thursday, June the 18th. This is going to be a video for third grade and finish up some of our topics talking about multiplication. So one of the things I mentioned on Monday's video was that I would talk through how to model. And there are two ways that we're going to look at that today. We're going to look at making arrays, actually creating them, as well as using a bar model. So let's go ahead and take a look at those. I'm going to start off by using the problem 3 times 6. So usually we're going to say that our first number is the number of rows, and the number of objects in each row would be the second number. That doesn't always have to work out the same way. Sometimes we will get an entire row filled in, and then they'll ask you to create the other rows. Sometimes you'll get the number of rows created, and then you have to put the correct number of objects in each row. So sometimes we'll start from scratch, sometimes we'll start with something already given, and then you need to go ahead and add to that. So while I go ahead and finish putting in the rest of the tiles, I kind of want to refer you down to this part. So down at the bottom it says basically if we take the picture in green, we take this picture that I'm trying to draw right now on the screen and rotate it so that we have 6 rows of 3, do we use the same number of tiles? Well, if you already know the answer to 6 times 3 or 3 times 6, you should know that we will get the same answer. So one of the things that we'll talk about as we're working through the multiplication lessons is this idea of the commutative property of multiplication. And what that tells us is we can take the same numbers, switch the order that we multiply them in, and still get the same answer. So I'm going to have 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18 tiles. If I use this down here, I'd have 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. Now I've got 2 examples for the bar models. Sometimes they're going to have it drawn out for us. And if they do, that's wonderful. Sometimes they'll have it started, but not completely drawn in. I'm going to talk about what that looks like with this example. So we're going to do 6 times 4. What they want us to do is to create 6 boxes, or recognize that we have 6 boxes there, and we are going to put a 4 in each box. And when we do that, then we can go ahead and add 4 plus 4. We can use our repeated addition strategy all the way across until we get to our answer. We can also use 6 times 4 to find the answer. Sometimes they're going to skip this particular step. They'll give you this, and then they'll ask you to come up with the answer. So if I count it across, I would get 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24. So there are 24 students. For this one, we would do 3 groups of 9. So let's say that I have already drawn in my lines. I have a group of 9 here, I have a group of 9 here, and I have a group of 9 here. That would give us 27 total apples. Now, forget that those numbers exist, and I'm going to show you what happens sometimes. So let's say I'm working with groups of 4 like I did. I'm pointing at my screen like you can see me point at my screen. Let me point with this. Sorry about that. Let's say that we get something that looks like this, and then we have to make it into this. One of the things that you're going to find out is they don't always leave enough room in the book. So if I try to make the groups about as evenly as I can, I would only get about 4 or 5. So don't feel like every single thing has to be exactly perfect. All we need is to make sure that we have 6 boxes. And this would give us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we would put the 4s in each of them. And then we would solve it the same way that we would up here. So this happens occasionally. It doesn't happen very often. You're more than likely going to find it like this, or you're going to find the blank box, but I wanted to give you an idea of that particular part being a thing. Because some of my students occasionally get frustrated when they figure out that they can't make them all the same size. I get that way too. So those are the things I wanted to go over with for today. we are going to use a lot of working with the arrays, especially recognizing what the answers would be or creating them. We're going to do that far more than we will with the bar model, but I wanted to go ahead and introduce how to do both of those today. Hope your summer is going well. Hope the video has helped you understand something that we're going to be working on this year. If you want to practice at home with the arrays, what I would suggest is if you have coins, you can use those to make an array. And let's say we want to see how many groups of 4 we can make to get to 28. And so you have 28 pennies, you start putting them into groups of 4 and find out how many groups you can make. Playing cards can also work, but they take up a lot more space. So what I would suggest is if you want to try to do that with a deck of playing cards, just leave them face down so you're not worrying about the numbers. And then you can have them overlap slightly instead of being side by side like this, having them overlap some and kind of stack them across and then just count them that way. That way you can save on a little bit of space. So those are some things I would recommend that you practice on, and I hope you have a great weekend, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video, which will be on Monday.